Let's do it. Okay. Last week was face to face with Jesus, right? And I taught you how to get connected to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and how to know him more intimately, right? This week, if you remember last Sunday, the readings, the three temptations. Remember? Jesus gets baptized by John. And what pulls him out there? The Spirit leads him out to the desert. So if you want to, during Lent, you got to get to quiet places. This world is full of chaos. It's loud and noisy. You got to find quiet places to connect with God. It's sometimes very difficult because everything's so noisy out there. The music's noisy. This, and you got all this chaos out there, and the news and everything else. And and again, it gets us wired into our sympathetic nervous system, which is like this. It brings the world in. So that's fear-based. I need to be like that if the mountain lion's there or the bear. I've had mountain lions. I live in Evergreen. I've had mountain lions in my backyard. I've had bears in my backyard. And so I quickly grab the grandkids and tail it to the house. You see a mountain lion or a bear, get out of there. Get back to the house as quick as you can. And again, so you're supposed to do that, and you're wired to be able to bring your world in, to be able to focus on that fear, because you got to either hide, run, or fight, right? And the adrenaline's running. So, I mean, there was this is probably about 10 years ago, there was a kid, an SUV backed up, and a little 2-year-old got trapped underneath the car, and they couldn't get the kid out. He was trapped. And the ambulance came and stuff, and they didn't know, they couldn't get him out. They couldn't, I mean, they didn't know. 4 guys, and they weren't as big as you, okay? But 4 guys just grabbed the SUV, and they picked it up. And the paramedics went in there and pulled the kid out. Now, who has that kind of strength? None of us do, okay? I mean, that's a lot of weight, but that actually happened. And you say, that's like supernatural stuff. But don't tell me what your bodies can do and can't do, because underneath extreme situations, it can do amazing things. But when there's fear, and we're in our sympathetics, and I'm in my fear center back here, my world comes in. If I live like that, I probably won't hear the voice of God. He could be standing right here. I'm focused here. My world is just drawn in here. With Jesus, and I'm focused on his face, the divine physician, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't be in the fear of cancer. Open up like this, and guess what happens? Now, God can work in this situation. So my talk tonight is titled Face to Face with Satan, with our demons. Last week, face to face with Jesus. Jesus comes face to face with Satan. What's the first thing he says to him? If you are the Son of God, which he got baptized way back over here, and what did the voice say from heaven, the Father? You are my beloved Son. Do you really believe that? Remember, what the demons are going to say to you. Now, let's stop there for a second. Let's stop there for a second, because the church started in the 60s. I remember hearing a talk from Benedict Groeschel in the early 90s, Father Benedict Groeschel. And he talked about everything turned to psychology. And instead of talking demons anymore, we started blaming everything on psychology. And it's almost like, no, there are no such thing as demons. It's in your head. It's how your head's operating. And that's how we started talking from the 60s all the way to the mid-90s. And then Pope John Paul said, There's a lot of things going on here that we can't explain. And there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that we need to be able to open up our hearts to and recognize. You better know that there are demons. C.S. Lewis said, if you don't believe in the demonic, he already has you. He already has you. And again, so there are such things as demons. I could tell you stories that will turn your head around and of praying with people and things that I saw. I could tell you all kinds of stories. I don't have time for that right now, but I could tell you, and you could say, that's sort of weird. And again, trust me, they're real, okay? And this is how they operate, all right? They want to put you, they want you to build your own stronghold. Just like when Jim blasted the shofar, I talked about strongholds. If I have unforgiveness in my heart, I'm already over here, I'm in relationship with God, and I step out of that relationship and I go to bitterness. Gosh, that really hurt. And first it starts with like anger. Remember, you have your thought, starts up here. Then it goes into your enteric nervous system, which is in your belly, esophagus, all the way down and through your abdominal organs. This is feeling-based. Thought, think of thought, reason, okay? This is feeling-based. So I have unforgiveness. And by the way, our Archbishop just wrote like a 9-page letter to everyone in the diocese, whether you're Catholic or not, that this Lent, you should focus on forgiveness issues. Because when you focus on forgiveness issues, it's going to affect her. And she works on her issues, it's going to affect you. You work on your issues, it's going to affect me. I work on my stuff, it's going to affect him. It's going to affect all of us, right? Really important stuff to do. So thought, and maybe I get anger, then I can start to feel it. You know where you feel it? In your gut. Then it goes on to your body, because when this is resting in peace, guess what? The good hormones, your immune system goes up. You don't get cancer. You don't get disease because your immune system is operating, blood pressure drops. Heart rate is normal. And your body goes into homeostasis. Good hormones get produced. But when I start to hold on to that anger, it starts up here. The thought, and then I feel it here, the anger. And the next thing you know, those bad hormones start to be released. The longer it stays like that, who started wearing it like that? Who programmed it? You did. We did, right? So anger, then it's going to go, if you let it stay a little longer, then it's going to move into bitterness. And you're going to start to get bitter about the thing. And then it goes into resentment. And you'll start to hear, gosh, what they did to me, they owe me. And then it goes into hatred. Hatred for others and self-hatred for myself. And when you start to get to that level and that height, it's really getting hard to break it off of us. But it's a process. And the sooner you can recognize it, the better for you and for everybody around you. Because when you're walking in that, do you think it's going to affect your marriage at all? It will. Even if you're bitter, not with her, with someone else, with me, whatever else, it doesn't matter. If you are, it's going to affect your relationship with your kids, with your cat, your dog, if you have one. It will. Again, so it's going to radiate out of you. So thoughts. This is how disease happens, by the way. This is in science. Brain science today, all it is transformation. It's already in the Bible. All that stuff is already in here. This is the best medical manual, the Bible. It's in here. But brain science is just discovering it and teaching us how it actually happens. So I'm teaching you how it happens. A thought, maybe I get anger, and then it goes down to my intent. And this is milliseconds. And it keeps sending, and the stronger the feeling I have, it'll come up here and it'll trigger another emotion, maybe another thought. They'll keep that anger there, and then it builds to bitterness, and then next thing you know, I'm thinking all these thoughts, holding on to all this stuff, and then I go to this hatred stuff, and then I become the victim. Do you know what they did to me? Oh, yeah. You wouldn't believe what they did to me at work. You know. And then these thoughts keep coming through your mind. We all have done it. That's called the victim spirit. And again, so we've all done this kind of stuff. So that's how disease happens. One of the first questions I ask people when working with somebody with some kind of serious illness, the last year before you got diagnosed, what happened? What's the traumatic event that happened? And then they'll say, well, and sometimes it wasn't the last year. Well, tell me 2 years. Give me 3. It's usually somewhere between 1 and 5 years is when it's happened, usually. Sometimes this stuff goes way back to the childhood. And that could be 50 years earlier. It could be. So this is what happens. Your body sits there, and I'm programming it, and I could feel this anger, and then I could feel this unforgiveness, and I feel this bitterness, and then I begin to feel this resentment, and then I get self-hatred and hatred for others. And where do you think a lot of this woke culture comes from, and the cancel culture comes from? Most of them have father wounds. I'm telling you. When you can take the time, when they'll stop trying to do this and talk down on you and try to control you, and if you say something that they don't agree with, and then they just talk louder, when you can get them to just sit there and, hey, I'm saying you do this, but where do you think that thought process comes from? When you can ask them a question and they can go back into their heart, then you're going to get them to connect. Most of them, it's a father wound, is what I find that they have. So thought, feeling, then it goes on in your body with disease, because when you hold on to that stuff, it puts out bad hormones, bad electrical impulses. It can cause weakness in your heart. In the University of Michigan, about 15 years ago, they had a guy who needed 3 coronary artery bypasses. They were 90% occluded or more, okay? And they said, okay, normally we would take you and do triple bypass. He said, but what we're going to do with you is we want you, if you agree to this, we want you to go into counseling and work on forgiveness issues. So he worked on forgiveness issues for a month, and 6 weeks later, he had another angiogram. All his vessels were 100% open. How does that happen? Think about that. I mean, I could tell you, working with people, when they were able to forgive, the cancer leaves, the arthritis leaves, the Parkinson's leaves. But lots of times there's some kind of forgiveness. So when I get wired into all this stuff, and lots of times I might not even be thinking about the situation anymore, but I program my automatic nervous system. My automatic nervous system picks up on this stuff and says, Brian's running that program again. Well, I'll just run it for him. And again, so you're not even thinking about that person or that situation, but then your body starts running that program that puts out the bad hormones, puts out the things that causes the illness, it causes the thing. I'm telling you, these are scientific studies over the last 25, 30 years. I'm not making this stuff up. And I could show you in the Bible where this kind of stuff is. Not in scientific terms, but it's there, okay? And I've taught it, and doctors have been to my talks, and they'll say, oh my God, how did you bridge that like that? That was just so good, because that's exactly what happens. Doctors today don't have the time to sit down and go, well, you got this problem with that. They're going to write you a prescription. That's what they do. That's what they have time to do. That's how they're trained in this box. You think they know all this? They're trained in this box. It's usually pharmaceutically based. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong, but you got to understand who you're talking to. Somebody who's trained in this box. That's why you need to learn how to go to the divine physician, connect with him, because there's all kinds of things out there that can heal. Tony Robbins wrote a book last year called Life Force. I'm not saying I believe in Tony Robbins and stuff like that, but what he did is he went around the world and he found what different doctors were doing and getting breakthrough with healing. It's about a 450-page book with the doctors talking about what they are doing to get healing for different things. And some of these breakthrough things, but it's not paid for by your insurance company. And I mean, this is how bad insurance companies are, right? And again, because all this stuff is, not all of it, but a lot of it is in this box, but all this stuff out here that actually heals, we got a broken medical system, right? And again, so go back to it again. Thoughts, feelings, and then it goes on to your body. When you learn that, now it makes you pray different, right? Okay, I have this ache in my shoulder, or I have this pain in this part of my body. Start where that pain is. Talk to the Holy Spirit within you and ask him, okay, what's going on there? Is there someone I need to forgive? And I'm telling you, a memory will pop, or a word will pop. You may need to forgive yourself, which is the hardest thing to do. And again, sometimes it's easier to forgive somebody else, no matter how bad it is or what they did to you. And again, sometimes we've judged God wrongly, but more often than not, we got to be able to apologize to him when we have done that. Because God doesn't cause disease. He doesn't cause cancer. He doesn't cause heart disease. He doesn't cause depression. God doesn't do that. But what he does, he steps in when you are going through this stuff right now to take your hand and walk with you. I'll be there with you. And that's what he says. Whether it's Columbine, Flight 800, all these disastrous things that happen in the world and wars and different things, he didn't cause it. He gives free will out there. There is evil. During Lent, you're being challenged to come face to face with your demons. This is your time to come face to face with them and ask Jesus. Okay, learn how to speak. You know, we always talk about prayers, fasting, almsgiving. Learn how to pray more intimately with God. Like I taught you last week, learn how to pray face to face. That can be scary to some people. Face-to-face contact, you know, I mean, Dee and I there's times when we've had situations in our lives, we just hold each other, we don't have words, and we just cry. That's our tears, our words. Or we can look into each other's soul. And through it's a gateway to the soul, right? So get used to. That's why I said last week, meditate on the face of Jesus. Look him in his eyes. When I saw him in my hospital room, I couldn't take my eyes off his eyes. And it was like, you know, I wanted to look at, hey, what's he wearing? You know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't take my eyes off his eyes. And for that hour and a half, he was there. And again, so with you, go to a new type of prayer. Pray differently. It's not about how many times you say the rosary or this prayer to this saint or that prayer or this. How many minutes are you going to give them? Maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening. How many minutes are you going to give them? We'll say, well, in the morning, I'm going to give them 20 minutes. What I would tell you this, don't do any more than 5 minutes of prayer. And some of that should be opening up this book, the Bible. Maybe you took the reading for the day and you look at that. Maybe that's as simple as far as you go. You look at the reading for the day, you read that, and then you just learn how to get quiet. Get out in the desert. Sometimes there's noise in the house and stuff like that. You got to put headphones on. Sometimes I'll put just quiet music on, like a Gregorian chant or something like that, okay? I also like the rosary being sung. And I'll turn it just real low, just so it blocks out the noise in the house. And then I'll just get quiet. And it's okay, the next first 5 minutes was me opening up and me, it could be a prayer to St. Jude or whatever else. But don't go anymore. Don't do all these prayers and fill your 20 minutes with that. Just do 5 minutes and then give Jesus 15 minutes. Now we're face to face again. There doesn't have to be words. Sometimes he may not say anything to you until the very end, the last 30 seconds. And maybe he doesn't say anything else, but you saw him face to face. You could do an Ignatian meditation and just use your own imagination and close your eyes. Start with breathing. Take a couple of deep breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. Hold it. 1, 2. See what you're doing there? Your automatic nervous system, which is wired how you wired it with all these strongholds, and that's where you've been putting your belief, okay, that brings your world in like this. I'm tired of my world being in. I want to know something. I want to allow God in to create, to heal me, and to be where he needs to be. I want this opened up. Breathing is a great way. The mystics, the church fathers talk about this is not a New Age practice. This is nothing about the New Age. The New Age people stole it from us. And the early Christians talked about it, talked about the power of breathing. St. Ignatius said, in your very breath, you will find the power of the Holy Spirit. It will connect you so that you can go from this to this. Wouldn't you like that in your marriage? You get kids? Yeah. I mean, so you got decisions to make. Wouldn't it be nice instead of, oh God, I don't know if they're going to do this, and the kid, and then we got all this fear going on. Wouldn't it be nice to get this opened up so that you can get connected to him face to face? Then you know what starts to happen? It starts to change your automatic nervous system. Because the first thing you're going to see happen when you start doing this, you're going to wrestle like Jacob did. Jacob's going back to see his brother, remember? And he stole the birthright from his brother. And his brother swore to kill him. And so he's going back to see him like about 20 years later. And it's the night before his brother's going to come to see him. And what happens? He wrestles with God all night. How many times are we going to wrestle with God? And that's what happens. Your brain, your automatic nervous system is going to say, oh, well, you told me to run this program of unforgiveness. And you know, and it brought the world in and I've been running this program really well. Yeah, it's been causing disease on your body, but that's, you know, I've been running the program. You wanted it. You programmed it. But now you have to come up against it and realize, I got to learn how to let that go. So you just say, so when you come up and then all these other thoughts start to come in, when you're focusing on your breathing and stuff like that, and that's trying to open this, that wrestling is going to start to happen. And you say, no, this is my time with my Lord. I need to let go that stuff. I'm moving my heart into a relationship with Jesus. I have to have it with him. I cannot forgive without him. It's not like when I was little, I had a brother a year younger than me, and his name was Stephen. So mom would say, you and Stephen, have been fighting long enough here. Go sit on the couch until you can tell each other you're sorry. Sorry, Stephen. I wasn't really sorry. I just said it to make mom happy and get back out and play. And again, that's not forgiveness. Not forgiveness. You got to be able to allow Jesus into it. He takes all of our stuff to the cross, right? He takes it all so that we can heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So we can get this junk off us. So we can reprogram that automatic nervous system that wants to cause disease, right? But you can also program it into homeostasis so that it heals pancreatic cancer. It heals, well, he was with grandchild. It heals larynx cancer. It heals all kinds of things in our life, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, and sets us free. This is how it works. When you learn how to pray like this, it's a heck of a lot better than the way we've been walking around, right? I've had enough of that kind of stuff where I'm trying to walk from here and I pray 10 rosaries a day. I pray this. There's nothing wrong with all those prayers you're doing. Nothing wrong with that. Why not open up your heart a little bit different and then take some risks? You might wrestle with God a little bit in the beginning, but the more you do it, guess what happens? This begins to open up as you see us face to face with him. And as you do that, you're going to be set free. Remember, Jesus' name is what? In Isaiah, it's peace. It's shalom.
Thank you for watching our video. Please pray for our ministry. If you feel moved to donate, please go to our website intercessorsofthetrinity.org. Look for the donate button or mailing address.